Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining us. Grateful to the IBEW, Ed Moore and his team for hosting us here today, and excited to be joining Council President Hardin, Councilmember Remy, Ben Kessler, great Mayor of the City of Bexley, Mayor DeGraw, Mayor of Grandview, all of us as the Central Ohio Mayors and City Managers Association unanimously endorsed House Bill 62 at our meeting on Friday at the South Side at the Reeb Center. We're also pleased to have our Franklin County engineer, Cornell Robertson, with us, and our great partner, the President and CEO of the Columbus Urban League, Stephanie Hightower, as well as Dorsey Hager, who is the Executive Secretary of the Central Ohio Building and Construction Trades Council. Dorsey, thank you for your advocacy and support of this work. Our roads and bridges are critical to our community. Every person in every neighborhood throughout the city, the region, and the state deserve to have well-maintained roads to get them to work, to school. Governor DeWine inherited a $1 billion shortfall in infrastructure funding. We applaud his willingness to tackle this tough issue and stand together today to offer bipartisan regional support, public, private, nonprofit, of House Bill 62 that increases the motor fuel user fee. In the city of Columbus, we put this fee to work in our neighborhoods. Over the past 3 years, my administration has focused $37 million on street resurfacing in our most vulnerable neighborhoods, Hilltop, Linden, and Southside. All those funds represent just a quarter of our overall resurfacing budget. This revenue is even more critical to smaller cities that rely on these dollars as a higher percentage of their overall budget. As I mentioned on Friday, we met with other mayors and city managers in Central Ohio. As I mentioned, we unanimously endorsed this issue on Friday. We agree that change is necessary for the people of Central Ohio and our neighbors across the state. The motor fuel user fee hasn't increased in more than a decade. It hasn't kept pace with inflation or the growth of our state. It's also below the state tax charged in all of our neighboring states except Kentucky, where they make up the difference with a higher motor vehicle registration charge. Infrastructure investments are crucial as Central Ohio communities continue to grow at an exciting pace. In Columbus, we expect to add 500,000 more people in the next 30 years. The region will see over 1 million. Our roads and bridges are seeing more traffic than ever before, which means they need more frequent maintenance. Here in Central Ohio, we tout that we are a one-day drive to nearly half of the U.S. population and 1/3 of the Canadian population. But if Ohio roads and bridges aren't properly maintained, we are in danger of losing that competitive edge for new business and jobs. We are doing all that we can within our means to keep our city and our region moving forward. In Columbus, our residents will vote on a $1.03 billion bond package. $291 million of that will be allocated for roads and bridges. The motor fuel user fee provides the second largest funding stream to cities from the state, behind the local government fund. As a major economic driver for the state economy, we need this additional support to ensure we remain an attractive destination for employers and a thriving area for our residents. This afternoon, you will hear from other supporters in the community and across the region who also agree that the motor fuel user fee is the right way forward for Ohio. It's my pleasure to introduce our great partner, Columbus City Council. Please welcome Council President Shannon Hardin.
Well, good afternoon. It is certainly a pleasure to be here. To Pat Hook and the brothers at IBEW, thank you so much for having us and hosting us. To Mayor Ginther, thank you so much for your leadership and for pulling us together. To all the mayors and local leaders for your stance last week. We are, as council, just happy to join in support. I am here on behalf of my colleagues on council, the current chair of the Public Service Committee, Councilmember Emmanuel Remy, and the incoming chair of the Public and Service Committee. I may be making a little bit of news, Councilmember Favors, who will be chairing that committee for us in this session.
Congratulations.
We have an obligation to invest in Ohio. Over the years, we focused on short-term and long-term prosperity. I'm excited to stand with leaders here today, as well as folks like CODA CEO Joanna Pinkerton, to support this gas tax. This conversation is, like the mayor said, about neighbors. Like Mother Wilson, a long-time Southfield Missionary Baptist parishioner. She used to walk to and from along Rockins Road down on Fairwood Avenue, all the way down to her church. She had to walk in the street with cars zooming by her. We heard her story several years ago, and working with the mayor and with Director Gallagher, we worked to install sidewalks along Fairwood Avenue. It's important that we understand that transportation is not about concrete and steel, it's about people. It's about grandmothers being able to get to church safely on a Sunday. Over the past few years, Columbus has become a hub for transportation innovation, recognizing that getting folks that last mile means connecting residents to jobs, schools, and healthcare. This innovation isn't just about cars, it's about buses, bikes, sidewalks, scooters, and more. With more modes of transportation entering the street, we need more funding for transportation for our streets. While we look at this new investment in Ohio, we must also invest in transit. Our state spends less on transit than almost anywhere else in the nation. I also want to thank Representative Dave Leland for advocating for CODA and all the riders in Central Ohio. The State House should move on this gas tax, and I just want to, on behalf of my colleagues, join the mayors and municipal leaders in support of House Bill. We've got 1 million people, as the mayor said, coming to our region over the next years, but we can't have 1 million more cars on the road without more funding. So it is an honor to stand here and to stand with great partners like our county engineer, Mr. Cornell Roberts. Mr. Roberts, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to start off by wishing everyone a happy March 4th day. And that's what we need to do. March 4th.
That's right. I like it. That's good.
Again, my name is Cornell Robertson, Franklin County Engineer. I've been the county engineer for just 2 years. However, I've worked at the Franklin County Engineer's Office for 27 years. Therefore, I know well the perspective of an urban county engineer in maintaining roads and bridges as a small local government agency. The primary function of the Franklin County Engineer's Office is to provide for safe and efficient movement of people and goods from place to place within Franklin County. The Franklin County Engineer's Office has 800 lane miles of jurisdiction and 357 bridges. Of those 357 bridges, 48 are over 100 years old. 108 are over 75 years old. 13 are rated poor, and 35 are rated fair. Good roadway and bridge infrastructure is critical for safe and efficient travel. It is dangerous to dodge potholes and frustrating to sit in congested traffic. Good roadway infrastructure drives our economic engine by providing design jobs and construction jobs in the short term, and by promoting development, both commercial and residential, in the long term. Good roadway infrastructure is important to public health, safety, and welfare. To get ourselves to the doctor and first responders to life-threatening situations and emergencies. It is better to maintain our roadway infrastructure as we go instead of paying for a replacement after failure. It's similar to maintaining our vehicles and replacing the oil often, as opposed to waiting for the engine to lock up. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Pay now or pay more later. If revenue streams do not keep up with inflation, then we actually pay an invisible tax of insufficiency. Therefore, as the Franklin County engineer, I am in support of the 18-cent per gallon increase in the motor fuel user fee and the proposed inflation index to attempt to keep up with construction costs. Here are some reasons why. A funding pothole has formed because key revenue streams for maintaining roadway infrastructure have been stagnant for at least 16 years, while construction costs have nearly doubled in the past 4 years. All of the 18-cent increase goes to roads and bridges, nowhere else. This is a user fee, the fairest form of a fee. Keep the increase at 18 cents per gallon. The additional amount gets counties, on average, meeting only 23% of our need. It only fills a quarter of that funding pothole. All counties share equally in the county portion of the gas user fee, so this computes out to an additional $1.77 million per county each year. Here are some projects in need of funding. Cleveland Avenue and Ennis Road. The signalized intersection has the most crashes in Franklin County's jurisdiction. Harrisburg-Georgesville Road over Big Darby Creek. This bridge is rated poor. Alum Creek Drive over Big Walnut Creek Bridge. Alum Creek Drive is a very important route between Rickenbacker and I-270. It has passed its service capacity due to increased truck traffic, and it needs another lane in each direction. Keep the increase at 18 cents right out of the gate, and do not break it over a series of years. Gas prices often fluctuate by 25 cents or more on a day-to-day basis or over the weekend. In closing, I think it will take massive immediate action from multiple directions, including multiple people. We have to be men and women of action who lead agencies of action. We should not complain and just talk about the situation, but instead do something. We all have a circle of influence, so let's all jump in and participate in a positive way. Again, my name is Cornell Robertson, Franklin County Engineer. Thank you.
Cornell told me before we started I didn't need an introduction. I guess he was right. Welcome.
Sorry, Dorsey.
Oh, that's all right. Welcome, everybody, to the house that labor built. Thanks again to Ed Moore, Pat Hook, Dustin Gockenbach, Chris Poff, representatives here at IBW Local 683 for hosting this great event. My name's Dorsey Hager, and I'm privileged to be the Executive Secretary-Treasurer of the Columbus and Central Ohio Building and Construction Trades Council. Columbus Building Trades represents 18,000 highly skilled tradesmen and tradeswomen here in Columbus, Franklin County, and Central Ohio. Plumbers, electricians, sheet metal workers, bricklayers, cement masons, laborers, carpenters, operating engineers, many of whom are here today, and even mechanical insulators like myself. All building trades members earn good wages with health and retirement benefits so that they may provide a solid middle-class living for their families, and when their career is over, retire comfortably with dignity and respect and without being a burden to state and local governments or the taxpayer. I respectfully stand up here before you today to offer my support for House Bill 62, the motor fuel user fee. Maintaining and improving Ohio's infrastructure is critically important to investors looking at Ohio to locate or grow and expand their business. The motor fuel user fee will be a job creator. It will lead to $1.2 billion per year that will be used in construction, maintenance, and repair of roads and bridges. That level of investment will lead to thousands of jobs that provide good wages and benefits, ensuring members of our community can provide for their families. It will also help ensure continued economic growth and low unemployment figures for the entire state of Ohio. The motor fuel user fee is the second largest funding stream to cities from the state behind the local government fund, and this revenue is critically important to Columbus and Franklin County. This will be a job growth win for our entire Central Ohio community. The Columbus Building Trades fully supports the 18 cents increase and the $1.2 billion it will generate, as this will create and sustain thousands of jobs while maintaining and building upon Ohio's infrastructure. It now very privileged to introduce my good friend, President and CEO of the Columbus Urban League, Stephanie Hightower.
Thank you, Dorsey. I'm going to have you introduce me more often. Anyway, he has basically said all of the things, and all of these gentlemen before me have already endorsed and really spoke of many of the things that I intended to say here today. But let me say this. As the president and CEO of the oldest civil rights organization and family advocate here in Columbus and Central Ohio, we have no choice but to come to you today to endorse House Bill 62. For those of you who know about what we do at the Columbus Urban League, I just want to give you an analogy here. I'm sure you all are very familiar with that commercial on TV right now, the TurboTax, free, 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 free. I hate it. Free, 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 free. We should be talking about today 62, 62. That's all we need to be talking about. We are talking about job creation. We are talking about new career expansions. We are talking about inclusive economic growth for our community and for our neighborhoods and for our under-resourced individuals who may not have another opportunity. We know that our mayor right now has been incredible about sinking money into our neighborhoods and making sure that those neighborhoods are strong. This is another vehicle, almost $19 million a year, that will give us the ability to continue to sink that money into neighborhoods, to sink that money into under-resourced individuals, to create jobs, which is what our elected officials and our community leaders are here to do. So again, all I'm going to say is 62, 62, 62. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
So we've heard from the city and the county, but I wanted to offer up, since I think we might be officially in Mayor DeGraw's jurisdiction here today. I know by block, since we're in his great city.
You've crossed the line.
I've crossed the line. I wanted to, from our suburban neighbors, would love to hear from Mayor DeGraw and Mayor Kessler about the impact on their communities as well.
Well, welcome to Grandview Heights, and obviously this is a beautiful facility, and thank you for having us here today. What we all know is, if you're looking at an environment that's really rough on roads and a climate, you've come to Ohio. We've got the freezing, we got the thaws, we have a very, very tough climate on roads, and it shows. We continue as a cities, as a county, as a state to fight an uphill battle against the deterioration of our road system, and it seems like we can never spend enough. And each year, we feel that we've tried to make progress, and then the winter comes and we think we lose against the weather again. This is very important to both the state, the cities, and the county to give us some funds to work with, and again, try and at least help us some to try and stay ahead and create safer roads, create better jobs, and be able to address some of our infrastructure needs. Strong support, we need it. Thank you, and hopefully we can move forward and help us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Kessler from the great city of Bethlehem.
Thank you, Mayor Ginther. As Mayor Ginther has made a big point of saying in the past, one of his top priorities is easy access to transportation, and making sure that folks can get around our region. And as mayors, we know how important that is. As the immediate past chair of the Central Ohio Mayors and Managers Association, I'm really grateful to you, Mayor Ginther, for the leadership you've shown in having our group endorse this initiative. We know that the cost of construction rises every year, and that if we don't have adequate funding sources to keep pace with it, our communities suffer. And the engineer made a great point about what those costs have been doing recently. So we know this is a really important initiative, not just for our individual cities, not just for our individual region, but for the entire state of Ohio. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. That wraps us up. I'll commit to each and every one of these folks, including Dorsey, and the new chair of the Public Service and Transportation Committee. We'll stick around for questions and one-on-ones, but thank you, everybody, for being here.
No, that's good. Good to see you.